Hello.
Shweta, how are you?
How are you, Dr. Faizan?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm fine. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm ready
Okay,
to. Uh-huh.
I'll make you the presenter and the host, so you can upload those slides, and then later you can change me to
Okay, sir.
the
Okay.
presenter. Okay?
Yes, yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome. Mm. It is done, sir. So, it is okay?
Oh, yes, we got it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay. I have got two questions. So let me answer both of them so everybody can know actually what's happening. One, Shakir asked me that somebody on the Facebook page posted about the assignment, the project assignment you submitted on 5th of December, right? Actually, I did not post it. It was Miss Sarah who posted it on the Facebook page, and I suppose she was the previous teacher for the research method. So what I think is that she have posted it for the previous students, not for this semester students. But still, you can confirm it with under that post on Facebook, so you know that which assignment they are talking about. But whatever is posted on that page, if it is posted by me, then it would be related to our class. If it's not posted by me, then it's not related to our class. And secondly, Mr. Arif, yes, actually, final assignment by the end of this class. Today, I was thinking to discuss the second assignment with you. So after the second assignment, I can discuss the final assignment with you. But basically, you know, this what I'm thinking is this research method class is much more a practical class. And for most of the things we have already covered, right? We have covered about research problem. We have covered about how to do literature review. We have covered about the research method. We have covered about the uh, sampling. Today we will be discussing the conceptual framework, so which is the most important thing again. And then in the next class, I will quickly go through the data collection procedures, secondary data collection, and primary data collection procedures. And the last class would be the session number 7. In session number 7, actually what we will be doing is I will be discussing with you some tips and bits, some small things about everything to join them together. And then what my idea is that in one or two sessions in the end, um, yeah, what I'm thinking is that in the end, one or two sessions I would be giving to all the students. So I would want to discuss your research projects with you, like whatever research you want to do later on for your dissertation or research project. I would like to discuss it with you and with all of you in this class. So I can give 10 to 15 minutes to each student, and then we can. And obviously, if the other students listen to what one student is asking and what I'm answering to him, then every student can learn from it, and it's good for your research as well. So it would be much more interactive and easier for you to understand about your own research. However, if the students think that no, this is not a good idea, then yes, you can switch to something else. I can just do these PowerPoint presentations. So how do you people think about this idea? Please tell me about your feedback on this idea. Can you all hear me? Okay, Shakir, please stop posting the things on those messages. So let me repeat what I'm saying about the class, and I've already explained that whatever is posted on Facebook, if I do not post it, then it's not for our class. If I post it related to assignments, related to marks or anything, if I put it on Facebook, then it's good for our classes. somebody else posted on Facebook, then it's not related to our class. Right? Okay, now listen carefully. Okay, what I'm saying is that today is the fifth session. Actually, it's the sixth session. It's not the fifth session. But last session I was missing because I had some appointment of my visa, so I had to skip the last session. Basically, it's the sixth session, but we'll be going to the fifth one. Now, what I'm thinking is that I take 7 to 8 sessions, right, teaching you different type of things. Because we have already discussed the research problem, we have already discussed about what is a good research, we have already discussed the literature review, the research methods, sampling. Today we will discuss about the conceptual framework, and then later I will teach you about different data collection tools like primary data collection and secondary data collection tools. And in the end we will discuss about research ethics and how do you access different type of data. So I think that would be all for research methods which are important for you at MBA level. And then I'm thinking in the end 1 or 2 sessions, maybe 1 or maybe 2 sessions, I'll give to all the students to make it a bit interactive, because I have heard from a lot of students that they have problems when they are doing their MBA dissertation or MBA research project. So I'm thinking that in the last 1 or 2 sessions, we will have free discussions. So I'll give 15 minutes or 10 minutes to each student where they can ask me any questions about their research, how should they start, what should they do, how should they design their methods, different any question about your research methodology or research project or whatever. So I can tell you, and if everybody else listens to the questions and the answers I am giving to them, they will also be clear about what they can do or whatever. So, but I want this last 1 or 2 sessions to be very interactive, so you people can really learn something practically. Right? So actually, Mr. Arif asked me in the start to discuss the final assignment with you today. So basically, what I wanted to do is I want to discuss the second assignment today. I'll give you the second assignment today. So you finish it. The deadline is 7th of December, so it's already 10 days for this assignment. The assignment is not very difficult, but it's good for you to learn something. So we'll be discussing it after a few more students come to the class. And then maybe next session I will discuss the final assignment. Final assignment is still again your research proposal, and that's why I'm telling you that after I give you the final assignment, then we can discuss that assignment in detail in the last 2 sessions, where you can start working on your assignment. And if you are stuck somewhere, if you don't feel comfortable with anything, any question related to research methods or anything, then we can discuss it in the class. Okay, so I'll wait 1 or 2 more minutes, and if let's see if other students can come to the class within next 2 minutes. If nobody is coming, no other students are coming to the class in next 2 minutes, then we can start. And if anybody wants to add anything into this idea, or if anybody wants to say something, some feedback or anything, you can just ask me here in the message. I will open your mic and then you can say whatever you want. Okay. So I think first I will discuss the assignment with you all. Well, the only reason I want to discuss the assignment first is because in the end some people leave, and when they leave then they don't know about the assignment, and later they keep asking me for the extension of deadline or something like that. So I just don't want that one. So at the start, when everybody is fresh, I will explain the assignment and then we will go for the class. Okay, is it clear to everyone? Can everybody see this image on the whiteboard? Okay, and you all know how do you all know how to save this one, right? I think everybody. Okay, Sahab, it's very easy. If you are using a laptop or a computer or whatever, as far as it's not a mobile phone, then what you need to do is okay, I'll email it as well. I'll email it as well. But anyway, if anybody wants to save it now, what you can do is that if you look at your laptop or if you look at your keyboard of the computer, yes, there would be one button called print screen. So you can just press the print screen and paste it in Microsoft Paint and save it as it is. Anyway, I'll email it to you. But if anybody wants to start right away, then you can just save it. Okay, now I would explain this assignment. Before I explain the assignment, I want everybody to look at the instructions. Instructions are very, very important. So I've mentioned it here that please make sure that instructions are followed properly. In case the instructions are not followed, students will be marked 0 for the assignment. So please make sure that you follow the instructions. The deadline for the assignment is 6th of December, and there will be the deadline of the assignment is 6th of December, and there will be no extension. I'm saying again, there will be no extension. And after you complete the assignment, then you please send it on this email address which is written here, support4study@hotmail.com. When you're sending the assignment, in the subject of the email, please write your student name and student number. I know this email is coming from this student, right? So student name and student number, write it on the subject. So these are the instructions. Please follow the instructions carefully and make sure that you remember the deadline is 6th of December. Okay, so you have actually 3 questions. Question number 1 is explain the role of research question in an MBA dissertation, because I believe everybody of you are doing MBA. So you have to write around 150 to 200 words on the importance of research question in MBA dissertation, right? Question number 2 is that explain what do you understand by the term research hypothesis. What is actually research hypothesis and how is it related to research question? So again 150 to 200, there is one small paragraph you have to write. The third question is, what do you understand by the terms population and sample? Please define and explain probability and non-probability sampling. Define any two types of sampling and provide examples in context of management research. So what you have to do is, first you have to write a little bit about what is population and what is sample, then define probability and non-probability sampling, and then any two types of sampling with examples, but examples should be from the management research related to MBA, anything like this. For this question it's around 500 to 600 words. Altogether, if you make this assignment, it's not more than 1.5 pages, so it's not really a lot, right? One important thing which I did not include here, but I just want to tell you is, when you write these things, do not copy and paste. Put the references in the middle. I believe everybody knows how to do the referencing. If anybody do not know how to do the referencing, you can ask now, so I can explain a little bit how to do it, how to do the referencing. Okay, so I believe everybody knows. Okay, referencing, it's very easy. Yes, whatever you write in this assignment, you have to put the reference from where you are getting it. It doesn't matter if it's from a research paper, if it's from a book, if it's from my presentations, my PPT slides, if it's from websites. It doesn't matter, from wherever you take something, you write it on the paper, put the reference. From where did you get it? Yes, you have to put all the references in the end, but in the middle you have to also write the references. Now, how do you put it in the middle? I'll explain it like this, okay? For example, there's a very famous book. There's a very famous book by the name of Business Research Methods, and the book is written by Mark Saunders in 2007. So for example, if you are writing the definition of sample from this book, so in those 150 words where you are writing the definition, so you should write it like this. So this is how you have to write it in the middle according to Saunders. Now remember, whenever you are doing references for books or articles or whatever, you always have to write the family name, not the complete name, just the family name and the year of publication. This one, right? So according to Saunders 2007, sample is blah 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 blah, whatever you have written. Done. After you have finished, let's say this is your whole paragraph about sample, right? And in this one you have put so let's say if in your paragraph you have put these two references, Saunders 2010 and similarly College and Hussey 2002 says that sample is a good way, blah 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 blah. After you finish, then in the end you have to put a complete reference. So complete reference comes like this. Yeah, so this is how your bibliography comes in the end. Basically what you do is, okay. Now this is what it is all about. Okay, so when you are, for example, putting a reference of, if you are putting a reference of a book, you have to put the family name, then initial of the first name. So in this case, Mark Saunders, this is the first name, Mark. So only M here. Then year of publication 2007, name of the publication, edition number, publisher name, whatever. Yes, this is the correct reference which Shakirullah just put, Research Methods for Business Students, 5th edition, Mark Saunders, Philip Lewis, and so this is how you have to put the references. Now in this assignment, if there are any questions you can ask now, so I can answer. If there are no questions, then we can start the class. Riaz, if you quickly have a look at the assignment questions, if you don't understand anything, then I will repeat it. Najibullah, I don't know what reference style WWS recommends, but I recommend Harvard referencing style. So you can do Harvard. It doesn't matter. The referencing styles are not very different. The referencing styles are not very different, so it doesn't matter which style you want to use. Just make sure that WWF worldwide use the same referencing style. For me, it's okay, whatever style you want to use. Okay, so I believe there is no other question, so we can start the class. Okay, today's class, we will be basically discussing about the conceptual framework. Now, this is a bit important. Why it's important, I'll tell you. Okay, remember there are two types of courses. When we talk about research methodology, it has actually two parts. One is called the conceptual and methodological part. Till now, whatever we are doing, it's all about conceptual and methodological part. Like you discuss about the methods, how we do things, what is the concept of everything. and later if your research is applied in the real world, then it's called the application. So let's say that if there is a mobile company in Afghanistan, I believe there is one company by name of Etisalat, right? So let's say if Etisalat wants to do a research on their customer satisfaction, they want to check that how much their customers are satisfied with everything, right? So so if they want to do this, let's say they hire one researcher, they just uh, recruit one researcher and ask that researcher to do this customer satisfaction of Etisalat customers. Now what this researcher will do is he will do some literature review, he will find out different variables, he will design the research method, he will design a conceptual framework. All these things are called the methodological or conceptual research methods, right? After he has done his research and he find out different type of findings, now when he gives this findings to Etisalat company's management, and that management use those findings to develop different type of strategies, that one is actually called application or management problems faced by organizations. So this is that second part. For you, because you are all in MBA, basically we will be discussing conceptual and methodological part, right? Okay. Now today what I will tell you, what we will discuss is the definition of conceptual framework. What is a conceptual framework? If it's very important, what is the position of conceptual framework in your research? So for example, if you are doing your MBA dissertation or MBA thesis or MBA research project, in that project, where will conceptual framework come? Where is the point where you have to develop the conceptual framework? How to develop the conceptual framework? How to present the conceptual framework? What are some good points and bad points about it? And the conclusion, and in the end I will give you one flow chart of the research process as well, which is very important for all of you. It doesn't matter if you are doing academic research for your MBA, for your PhD, or if you are doing a practical research for your organization. This flow chart will help you. Okay, so basically what is a conceptual framework? First of all, remember conceptual framework is always a written or visual presentation. So if you want to make a conceptual framework, it has to be written or it has to be some diagrammatic form, like a picture or some visual. You cannot just say something about your conceptual framework that this is my conceptual framework and start talking about it. So it has to be written or it has to be visually presented. Um, according to Miles and Huberman, he says that in conceptual framework, basically we explain graphically or narrative form. It's again the same. Graphical means in picture form, narrative form means in text form, written form. The main thing is to be studied the key factors, concepts or variables, and the presumed relationship among them. So basically a conceptual framework is a map in which you basically say that which variables you will study and what is the relationship between them. So this is the basic idea of conceptual framework. Okay. Now where does the conceptual framework fit? So this is a very good example. Okay, what is variable? Okay, let me explain what is a variable. Okay. Now see Shakir, if there is a questionnaire, on that questionnaire this one is written like this, age, and there is a box. So maybe somebody will write 30 in it, maybe somebody will write 32, maybe somebody will write 28, maybe somebody will write 29. Do you understand? Now variable actually in this case is age. Why? Okay, remember variable is coming from a word called vary. Vary means different, different, right? Now there are two things. One is called variable, one is called constant. Right? So constant is something you cannot change. Variable is something that can be changed, right? So when you are doing research and your research, there are most of the times variables because you don't know something, then you do a research. Let's say we say customer satisfaction of Etisalat customers. Just now I explained this one. Customer satisfaction of Etisalat customers. Now customer satisfaction can be anything. It can be good, it can be not good, it can be no idea, anything. This can have any value. So that's why we call it variable, right? Now let me give you a very simple example of this constant and variable. So let's say if I ask you this question, how many hours are there in one day, right? Everybody knows the answer is everybody knows the answer is 24. Now it doesn't matter whatever you do, you destroy the calendar, you break your watch, you do not put the battery in your clock, it cannot change this fact that there are 24 hours in a day. So this situation actually this situation this situation is called constant. Okay. Uh, Hello. Is it clear now? Okay. So I was just explaining this. If I ask you how many hours are there in one day 24, this situation is called constant. Well, actually, the voice suddenly goes and comes. It's not because of some technical problem. Um, it's just because I keep quiet while I am typing. So maybe you feel that my voice suddenly goes. Maybe it just goes because I'm typing at that time. Okay. Now, if I ask you another question, how many hours do you enjoy one day? This is something which people can answer anything. Somebody might enjoy 1 hour, somebody might enjoy 5 hours, somebody might enjoy 10 hours or whatever. So in this situation, this is called variable, right? Okay. Now let me tell you one very simple thing. Okay, when we are doing research, right? In research, most of the time thesis, right? So that's why I do not use any examples from physics or chemistry or those type of things. We all know that there are a lot of examples from there, but that's why I have to make something which is easy to understand and from our daily life, right? So everybody can understand that one. Now remember, whenever we are doing research, now when I say research, by research I simply mean that whenever we do research related to business management or your MBA related research, most of the times we use variables. It's very uncommon if somebody is using a constant. Usually people do not use constants. Why you do not use constants? Because very simple. Constant is something which is already known. So you do not do research on something which is already known, right? So what you have to do is you have to do a research on something which is not known or which is wanted to be known. So that's why we call it a variable, because we are not sure what exactly it is. So that's why we call it a variable and we do our research on that one. Okay. So remember, in methodology class, in your thesis, in MBA, everywhere, people usually call this word variables, different variables. So make sure that you understand what is variable. Okay. Now what we were discussing was conceptual framework. Basically, preparing a conceptual framework or planning a conceptual framework is just like if you are planning for your holiday, right? Uh, Before you go for a holiday, usually you will plan, and the purpose of this planning is simply because of these type of things. You want to know how to go there, how to come back from there, and what is your destination in the holiday. You also want to know when are you at the destination, when will you reach the destination. And usually, if you are going somewhere to do your planning, these days people use internet, but in our countries, mostly people ask their friends and family who have been to that place before. Or even if you have been to that place before, then you will know how you have to deal with that place. So based on your previous experiences or information from others, you actually plan for your holiday, right? So this also has to be applied for your conceptual framework. Now, if you remember, we talked about literature review and we talked about primary data and secondary data. So those primary data and secondary data, literature review, all those things are example of previous experiences and information provided by others. Because in literature review, you review the literature done by other people. You read the books written by others. You read the research written by others. It's the information provided by others. Your previous experiences is the same. If you have done research on something, then you use your findings with your previous experience. So using all this, you have to develop your conceptual framework, right? Okay, now it's okay. We know that before you actually do your research, you have to plan and make your conceptual framework. But the question here is very important here is that does this apply to both qualitative and quantitative research at the same time? Because if you remember, we studied about deductive and inductive approach. I don't know how many of you remember it, but deductive approach and inductive approach are basically opposite of each other. So in deductive approach, we read the literature review first and then we develop conceptual. Whereas in inductive, we first develop a concept, then we read the literature review related to it. So this is why people who are working in this methodology part, they always ask this question that is pre-planning idea really applicable to both quantitative and qualitative research at the same time or not? So let me answer this to you. Most of you, I guess, would be using quantitative study for your MBA thesis, right? So if you are doing a quantitative study, where will the conceptual framework come? So if we look at the first step is always research problem. As we discussed earlier in the previous classes, you first have to come up with some research problem which would be theoretical or practical, right? After research problem, you have to develop your research paradigm. Now, if you remember, we studied positivism and interpretism. This one is not very important for all of you, so it's okay if you skip this step. You can skip this one. After research problem, you have to develop your own research aims and objectives, right? Then you have to conduct your literature review. Based on the literature review, here is where your conceptual framework comes into the picture. This one. So aims and objectives actually will tell you what we want to know and how the answer will be built up. Literature review will be a critical and an evaluative review of the experiences of other people, and also it will tell you if somebody have already done this thing or not. So if somebody have not done that thing in the past, then you will develop your conceptual framework, which will provide the structure and content of the whole study based on literature and personal experiences, right? Okay, now the next thing is research questions. After framework, then you develop your questions. Now remember, some people would like to do the research questions before conceptual framework. It really depends on you. According to me, I also want to develop my research questions here after aims and objectives. So I have research problems, aims and objectives, research questions, then literature review, conceptual framework. And based on this framework, you will develop your data collection and analysis methodology. Then you will interpret your results. You will try to do the analysis of your data, and then you will come up with the analysis and you will interpret it. What does this values or the analysis? Based on that analysis, you will evaluate your framework, whether this framework is correct or not correct, right? Now, I will give you an example of this one now. Okay, let me open my. Okay, okay, so everybody see this one. Okay, now this is one research paper I have written, right? This is my research paper, and my idea was to check uh, if you go to a good hotel, if you go to a good resort hotel or anywhere, then the physical environment in the hotel, right? The way it looks, the lighting, the architecture, the beauty of that hotel, all those things, how do they affect on the image of that hotel, perceived value and behavioral intentions, right? So this was my basic idea. It was developed based on a problem statement, and then I did a literature review. So in literature review, I found out. Okay, Shakir, I will actually send this article to all of you in December, in the first or second week of December, because it's already under publication. In you know, actually, according to law, I am not allowed to send it to anybody now. So that's why I cannot send you now. But yes, in December, definitely I'll send you because by that time it will be published already. Okay, so this was my idea basically, right? So what I did was I did a literature review. Now in literature review, I realized that people have actually studied physical environment. People have also studied perceived value, image, behavioral intentions. Right. Now what I realized in the literature is that all these things have been studied. People have done research on these things, but nobody has done them together in one model. Nobody has studied all these things together. This is one thing which nobody has done. The second thing which nobody has done is to do all this research in Chinese resort hotels. So in China, nobody has done this research. So after literature review, I realized this. And here is where we call it a research gap. So this was a gap, and based on this gap, I wrote this paper, right? So now you see that how important is literature review, because literature review actually tells you that what is done and what is not done. So the things which are not done, then you can do them. Now after the literature, doing all these things, I developed this one. Okay. So now everyone can see this image, this figure, right? Okay. Now if you remember the title I showed you shows that the effect of physical environment, which is here, on image, perceived value, and behavioral intention, right? Literature review said nobody has done them together. So now in this figure, if you realize that all these four are together in one diagram, right? And all these four are four variables. Physical environment is one variable, image is another variable, behavioral intention is another variable, perceived value is another variable, right? And another thing which is important are these arrows. So if you look at this arrow means actually that physical environment is affecting image. Also, physical environment is affecting perceived value, and physical environment is affecting behavioral intention. So in this diagram, there are four variables and there are six relationships: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Right? So basically, this is called the conceptual framework. Right? This conceptual framework, based on this, now you know that you have four variables: physical environment, image, behavioral intention, and perceived value. Right? After you develop this model, the next step is always data collection, which I also told you here. This is conceptual framework, this is data collection, right? Now what happens is that I know that I have these four variables, right? So I prepare a questionnaire. Okay. Now, if you look at this one, this is a questionnaire. Can everybody see this image? It's already loaded. Okay, so if you look at this questionnaire, the first one here, this part, here there is a heading called physical environment, right? Then here is one heading called perceived value, image, behavioral intention. So these are those four variables which are in a model, right? For each variable, there are few questions related to that variable. So let's say physical environment. So the first question is the resort's lighting is appropriate. The second one is the resort's temperature is comfortable. The third one is the resort's environment is clean. The fourth one is the resort's architecture is impressive. The fifth is the color within the resort are complementary and coordinating. Now, if you look at these five questions, all these five questions basically show that you are trying to measure the physical environment in the resort hotel. Similarly, perceived value, the resort offer good value for the price. The second one is the resort experience was worth the money. And the third one is the resort provides great value as compared to others, right? Image, the resort is sophisticated, it has cheerful and enchanting atmosphere, it has an authentic atmosphere, it had good enjoyment compared with the price. And behavioral intention, I intend to continue visiting the resort hotel. I consider this hotel as my first choice. I will spread positive word of mouth about this resort hotel. Now, if you see, all these questions are related to the respective variables, right? I developed this questionnaire and then I send this questionnaire to different people. So, this step, data collection and analysis, right? After this, I have different type of results. Okay. After this, I collected the data and I had some results. And the results look like this. I'll just show you how the results look like. Now, if you see, in front of each question, there are different type of numbers, right? What does this number mean? It's another story. I won't go into that story. But all these numbers mean different type of things. And you get these numbers from the data you collect from the people, right? Based on these numbers, then I developed this diagram again. Now, if you see this diagram, actually have these different values with each of the arrow. Everybody can see this, right? Okay, now here, if we look here in the end, there are two types of arrows. One is this dark arrow which says supported, one is the dotted arrow which is not supported. And in this diagram, there are all arrows which are dark, and here is this one arrow which is dotted. So after the data analysis, collecting data, analyzing data, interpreting data, then I realized that all the other variables are affecting each other except image affecting behavioral intention. So these are my findings, right? Now, if you look at here, I have followed all the steps. I have followed methodology, then interpretation of the results, and after the interpretation, I revisit the conceptual framework. What does revisit conceptual framework means is this. In the start, I thought that all of the variables affect each other. After analysis, I realized that image do not affect the behavioral intention. So I have to change this conceptual framework stating that image is not affecting behavioral intentions. So this is this whole process. So if in this whole process anybody has any question, who did not understand what did happen, please ask me now so then I can jump to the next one. Questionnaire is a data collection tool. Schedule is your time schedule. I don't know what you are asking about schedule, but according to me, schedule is developed in the start of the research where you have to say that I have to do this step in this much time. I have to do this step in 1 week, this step in 3 weeks, something like this. Okay, if anybody have any questions with all this, what I have just explained about this conceptual framework and this whole research process, so you can ask now, otherwise I'll go further. Okay, I believe no question. I never heard of schedule as a data collection tool. I never read it somewhere. I never heard of it. Okay, in if you are doing a qualitative study, like if you want to do interviews or different type of things, I will not explain it like the previous one because I am a quantitative person, so I have personally done all those things. I am just telling you how did I do it. For this one, I'll explain to you, but I cannot show you step by step like the previous one because this is not my field. Okay, so in qualitative, everything remains the same up to the research questions. You go research problem, you find research problem, you develop your aim and objective, you do a literature review, you develop your research questions, then you collect data. Now, usually you will collect data through interviews, not through questionnaires. Once you have all the interviews, right, based on the data from the interview, you have to analyze the data and develop a framework after the data collection. In this one, in the previous one, we develop the conceptual framework first, then we collect the data and check the framework. In qualitative, we collect the data first, then based on that data, we will develop a questionnaire. Sorry, based on that data, we will develop a conceptual framework. And then that's it for the qualitative, right? So there are different type of tools which qualitative researchers use. How they use it, it's a little bit in the next slide. So I'll explain how do they do this type of thing. Okay, now basically qualitative research is usually done to build up a theory, to develop a new theory. So after you collect data, you do interviews and everything. In the interviews, you look at different type of trends and different type of things, patterns and trends, and then based on those trends, you develop some theory, right? So this is all about qualitative research. Asad, if you want to share your research, what have you done your research on, you can message her. I'll explain or answer whatever you want to ask after I finish. So basically in qualitative, I don't know, you want me to give you a book about how to select a sample or what? Okay, what I will do is that in the last class I will give you one thesis of my own MBA-Research thesis for your guidance. So you can read it, you can look at it, how did I do things, how did I do literature review, and what is the flow, and then you can follow the same in your own MBA thesis. But don't copy it, because if you copy it, it will all come in the Turnitin and it's not good for you. Okay. Basically, to develop a conceptual framework, what do you need? You need a technical knowledge. How do you get technical knowledge? You get technical knowledge by doing the literature review, right? And also technical knowledge here, it refers to, you must know what type of variables, what type of relationships are there. Like for example, if we talk about variables, we have dependent variable, we have independent variable, we have mediators, we have moderators, we have control variables. So these type of things you must know. Then we have to know about the relationships like direct effect, indirect effect, partial effect, these type of things. So this is called technical knowledge, right? You should have some research background, your own personal experiences. Your own personal experience, like all of you are working in different type of places. So for that place, like I remember IFRI said he was working with United Nations. So in his own job place, he must know uh, the working environment and what being done in his organization. So that type of experience must also be there. And the last thing is data. You must have some type of knowledge about your data. How will you collect data? From where will the data come? For literature review, you must know related theories. You must also know the related research, other theory and research, right? Okay. How does this one help? Okay. How does this help actually? Prior related theory, prior related research, other theory and research. Okay, let me explain this also quickly with an example. Okay, this is a theory, SOR theory, Marabian and Russell 1974. It's related to psychology and marketing. Did anybody hear about this theory before? No? Okay. Uh, Actually, this theory means this. Stimulus organism response. Najib, focus on the class, leave the data collection or money and all those things. It won't help you later on. Focus on what we are discussing. What you are telling me is already gone 5 slides ago. Yeah, we can discuss it in the end of the class, so everybody can, if somebody wants to listen, they can stay, otherwise they can go and we can discuss it. Now it's important to focus on the class, please. Okay, this theory actually is stimulus organism response. Now this is a very basic theory in 1974, presented for psychology. Later people brought it into marketing as well. Stimulus Stimulus means anything that can affect your senses. Organism means internal human processes. And response simply means response of people. Now I mentioned this theory was presented in psychology, right? Psychology. Uh, and these two people, Merabian and Russell, in 1974, the example they give for this theory was that, for example, if you want to touch the fire, right? You take your finger near to the fire. As soon as you touch the fire, it feels hot. So that heat is called stimulus because it affects your sense. It affects your sense of touch. As soon as you feel it's hot, right? Your brain tells you, it comes into your brain suddenly that it's hot, and then automatically you remove your finger, right? So removing that finger becomes response. Now, based on this theory, if you know this theory, based on this theory, how can you develop a conceptual framework in marketing, right? So let me tell you how do you do it. Okay, now this is a very simple framework based on this theory. Let's say you go to a music shop, right? A shop where people sell music or where people um, uh, they sell music or let's say you are sitting online with you are sitting with your friend and your friend plays some music, right? Now when you listen to that music, you feel emotionally very happy. It affects your emotions. So when you go home, you will download it or you will not download it, right? Maybe this music develops positive emotions inside of your body. If positive emotions, you will download it. If it develops negative emotions, you will not download it, right? This is a very basic example just to tell you how one theory can help you develop a conceptual framework, right? Now, definitely this type of framework can be made a bit more complex Yes, because I'm not talking anything. Okay. Now what I told you is in the past I made a very basic model based on the same theory. Now based on the same theory I have made a bit complex model. Now in the past model we had only 3 variables. In this model we have 6 variables. In the past model we had only 2 relationships. In this model I have 8 relationships. Now what this model shows is, let's say if you want to go to a restaurant. Now when you go to the restaurant, inside the restaurant there is a physical environment. Now physical environment means the lighting inside the restaurant, the music they have played, the way they have put the furniture, the cleanliness of the waiting staff who are serving you, the cleanliness of the dishes, like plates and spoons and all those things, are they clean or not? All those things. It can affect your positive emotions or negative emotions. Both positive or negative emotions will develop satisfaction in you. Based on satisfaction, either you will be loyal, you will go again and again to that restaurant, either you will change the service provider and you will go to another restaurant. Now this is also based on the same theory, SOR theory. The previous model I made also is based on SOR theory. So that's what all this explanation I am giving to you is just to show you that to develop a conceptual framework, you must know the previous related theory, right? Now, can anybody guess why should we know the previous related research as well? Okay, so let me tell you one thing. When you are doing a research, remember this is very important. When you are doing a research, all these arrows you are making, like this arrow, this one. All these arrows must be studied by somebody else in the past. If they did not study it, you cannot put it here, because then you don't know does it really work or it will not work, right? Remember when you will do your own MBA thesis, when you will download different research papers. So in research papers there are different type of sections, okay? The first section is introduction. Usually a normal research paper will include all these 6 sections. First they will put the research problem, research statement, objectives, all these things. Second, literature review. Third, hypothesis development, fourth methodology, fifth finding and analysis, sixth conclusion and implications. Let me try if I can put any file. Okay, let me put this file. I hope it can upload. It's a PDF file. So let's see if it can upload, and I'll show you what I mean actually by all this. Okay, can everybody see this file? Can everyone see the PDF file? Just wait for a moment. Maybe it will load in a minute or sometime. Now, can everybody see it? Okay, good. Now see, this journal, this file, this is a research paper, right? And this one was written in 2013. So you can see this. Here it says 2013, which means it's very recent, right? Okay, this journal, this is the name of the journal. It's one of the top journals in hospitality management, which is my research area. Okay, now what I was telling you is this. Okay, see, it starts with abstract and it talks about introduction, right? Now in the introduction, if you see, the introduction is number 1, right? And then there is 1.1, which is the problem statement, which means that problem statement is also part of introduction. So in the problem statement, they talk about different type of problems, and then here, if you see, they talk about research questions. And then this number 1 and number 2, they have the research questions, right? So this is all about chapter part 1. This is your chapter 2, literature review. Now remember, your MBA thesis will also follow the same structure. So first you will have chapter 1, introduction, in which you will put all the introduction. Chapter 2 will be literature review. So here they talk about literature review, and then different type of headings like 2.1 framework for understanding the research, consumer experience, something like this. So these are, if you see 2.2 perceived value, All of these are okay. Now here is the figure. Now if you all can see figure 1, what is the title? The title is Framework for Understanding Consumer Experience. So this is their conceptual framework basically, right? Physical environment, human interaction, emotive, cognitive. This is all their framework. Framework is based on literature review, right? Okay, this is hypothesis. What I was just telling you, hypothesis development. Now, if we look at previous page here, can you see all these references? Now, if you remember, this paper is published in 2013. Here it says that this author in 1961, 1999, and 1992 argued that emotive and cognitive value influence consumer behavior. This is previous research. It's not the previous theory. It's the previous research, right? Based on this research, they have developed their hypothesis here, right? So here in previous related research is important for you to know the hypothesis development. Let me complete this paper. After hypothesis development, they have another section called methodology. They talk about overview of study, data collection procedures, development of questionnaire instruments, measure of survey instrument, experience items, procedures, data collection procedures. Okay, findings. So if you see, this is basically following all what I was just telling you. These are different type of findings. Okay, now here, if you see, this is their model again. This one. Now this model is revisiting the model which we just studied in the conceptual framework. After finding analysis, they revisited it, and then at the end of their paper, these are the references. What I was just discussing with you is that to develop your framework, you must know the related theory, you must know the related research, and some other theories and research. Then you can make your conceptual framework. How can you make it? Identify the keywords in your study. Like in my study, the keywords are physical environment, image, value, behavioral intention. Identify the keywords. Then draw out the key things within something you have already written, the subject area, literature review. Then in literature review, you look at how people have studied these keywords, how they have done it. So then you will know which variable affects which variable. For qualitative people, you come up with a key concept, do brainstorming, make different concepts from one concept. This is we have already discussed in the data collection procedure. So this doesn't really make sense to go for. Okay, for most of you, how will your general framework look like? It would be like a process framework. Now process means that what are different stages or how one thing will go to another one. So this is like this one. Just now I explained, if you go to a restaurant, the physical environment will affect your positive emotion or negative. After your emotions are affected, you will be satisfied. If you are satisfied, you will be loyal, or you will, if you are not satisfied, you will change your provider, service provider. So this is called process framework, based on some type of process. The second one is content framework. This is for qualitative one. Uh, Basically, in this one is much more detailed because this is for qualitative. Now, in qualitative, if you remember, I told you that you develop your conceptual framework, after the data collection. Now, when you are collecting data based on interviews, you have a lot of detail. So, when you have a lot of data, you put all this detail in your framework. So your framework become very detailed, and then your framework can only answer you why this is happening. In this one, which I just showed you, we are actually answering how this is happening, like how loyalty is dependent. Loyalty is formed because of satisfaction. Satisfaction is formed because of emotion. Emotions are affected because of physical environment. So in this one, we are actually answering how. In qualitative, you usually answer why. Now, I cannot give you a detailed example for this one because it's not my field, so I do not have readily available. But if you are from qualitative, so you can download some papers related to qualitative analysis and you will understand, just like the paper I explained. Different type of conceptual framework, it can be like a flow chart. Flow chart is the one I developed just now, this one. It shows different flows. It can be tree diagrams, it's for qualitative. Shape-based diagrams, triangles, concentric circles, overlapping circles. These are different type of advanced options. Recently, Microsoft Word is also offering them. So, for example, if I don't know if all of you have heard of Maslow hierarchy of needs, it's like this, right? So the shape is like a triangle, so that's why they call it a triangle shape framework. Mind maps. Most of the quantitative studies are flowcharts. This one. The others, these are mostly for the qualitative system. What is good about conceptual framework? Uh, Conceptual framework actually gives you an idea. Basically, like if you show someone this conceptual framework like this, they will not ask you why and how because it's very explanatory. It explains simply which variable is affecting which variable. So it's easy to explain. Then it's very easy to make sense of your data. When you are collecting data, you know which questions should be put where because you already know the conceptual framework, the whole process. It can be a filtering tool. So sometimes people put extra questions in questionnaire. So if you know that you only have to collect data for these variables, so you will not use other questions and waste other people's time. You will have a filtering tool. Then again, if you develop this this type of framework, then in your literature review, you know you have to talk about physical environment, emotion, satisfaction, loyalty, and change of service provider. So you don't have to go here and there and put some extra things in your literature review. And also it provides, and all these things actually provide a boundary of your work. So you don't go out of that boundary and you don't waste your time. So these are something good about conceptual framework. Limitations are that because it's boundaried, you do not know a lot of things outside this framework. So you are just stick to this framework. This is one limitation, one problem with it. And then if one person, he is very good in physical environment, so he will always think that whatever he is saying about physical environment is correct because he is the expert of this area. So this actually creates biasness, which is like it's not a real research, right? Another thing is that now I develop this framework. So this is my thinking that this can help, this can work out like this can work out like this, and actually it might not work out like this. So this framework is actually showing the researcher's thinking. This is what other limitation of framework. But actually, having a conceptual framework has more benefits rather than limitations. So that's why it's good using conceptual framework. The conclusion: you should have your focus, and then based on the literature and methodology, you develop your conceptual framework. Use your conceptual framework as a starting point. So you develop this one, and after that you can do detailed literature review and detailed methodology section. So you can always use it as a starting point. And then you also have to make sure that the framework you have developed, is it new? Is it completely new? Is some part of this framework new? Or is the framework old but the data collection procedure or methodology is new? The way you will do it is new. So you should also be clear about this thing. And also, while you are doing your discussion, you have to also mention that what previous people have done in the same framework. What have other people done in this framework and what are you doing? So it's clear that what is your contribution. This is the flow chart of research. Basically, how you start is you start from here: problem discovery and definition. Based on that, you select your research technique, whether you want to do case study, you want to do survey, you want to do pilot study, or you want to collect secondary data. Based on that, you have your problem definition. You define your research design. After that, you do sampling, probability or non-probability. You collect your data, you code it, put it in the software and analyze it and interpret the findings and report. So this is the basic process of how you will do your MBA thesis or any other research organization. So that will actually help you out. So this is all for today's class. I just explained all these things because most of you will want to start working. So now is the good time to start developing your conceptual framework. So later on, you don't waste your time on developing one. Develop your conceptual framework, then start your literature review detail and see what's happening. Now, if anybody have any questions about this class or any general questions related to the research, you can ask me now, and then we can finish the class. From my side, it's done. So if anybody have any questions, please ask now. So if no questions, then I can finish the class. Yeah. Yes. Riaz, you go first, and Asif after this you work on. If somebody who has no question and they want to leave, you can leave. Yes, Riaz, ask your question.
Sir, can you listen me? Hello. Sir, can you listen me?
Yes, your voice is a bit low.
Okay, sir, can you explain again the slide where we have the why and like people told us that how it will be for qualitative or quantitative, what to the how the why will be used for. No, the last slide. One of the last slides. Go further. I will tell you. No, go to the last. Go. Yeah, go. Here was one. Here was no, not that year. I think it was between 10 and 13. Yes, 10 and 13. No, there was one slide here you defined. Yeah, this one. Yeah, how question and why this slide. The previous slide, sir. Can you go to previous slide? Number 9. Number. Yeah. No, before this slide, there was a slide. Yeah. No, not this one. No. Here was like you told us that this Y will be for this slide. This one. Yes, this one. Process. Like you told us that how question will come to related to the qualitative or quantitative. No, the slide was okay. Why you changed that slide? The previous slide. Can you go? Yeah, this slide. Yeah, explain this again. This what general form might a conceptual framework take? Process framework and content framework. Set out this. Yeah.
Okay, listen carefully, okay?
Yes.
Okay, first you need to understand this thing. First you really need to understand that in qualitative we collect data and then we develop the framework. And in quantitative first we develop the framework, then we collect the data. Okay. Now in this one, the first one is process. Process is used by quantitative, right? Again I will write here. First you develop framework, then you do data collection. The framework only tell you how is this thing happening. Now if you look at this diagram, this one, they say how people become loyal. They will become loyal if they are satisfied. How they will satisfied if their emotions are affected. How their emotions will be affected? Because of physical environment. So process means like this. This is a full process. You know this will happen, then this will happen, then this will happen, then this will happen. So this framework, and then you check the framework by collecting the data and see whether this really happens or it do not happen. Do you understand? Okay. For content framework, now for content, remember content is now first you develop for content framework you first collect the data. Now you usually collect data from the people through interview. So if you interview 10 people, you will have a lot of details, right? A lot of details, very small details. So if you include all those details and everything, you will know which thing is most important, which thing is not important, which thing is very important. And then you develop the framework, right? So it will answer the question of why it's happening. Like in this in this case, if you want to do the content, you have to also answer why physical environment affects emotion, why emotion will affect satisfaction. You have to answer why. And because you already collected data from interview, you have all the details. That's why this type of framework will answer this question of why. So this is the difference. Is it clear, Riaz? Okay, good. Who else? Yes, Asif, you also had a question.
Good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Very, very slow. Very, very, very slow.
Good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I want to know what is the difference between desk review as well as literature review.
Sorry.
What is the difference between literature review and desk review?
Literature review and desk review.
Right.
Okay, okay. I will just explain to you. Basically, hold on. Let me find. Okay. Now, basically, see, if you are asking this question, what is desk review and what is literature review, right? For me, there is no very big difference. These days, it's mixed up. Literature review, from the name, it's very clear that when you review all the literature, now literature can be anything like books, journals, research papers, organizational reports, and I mean anything you just name it which can be literature is called literature review. Desk review in the past they called it desk review. In the there are basically two types of research, right? So one is called the field research, one is called the desk review. This was named it in the past. One person who goes in the field, he collects data, then he comes back. It's called field research, right? Desk review, you sit on the desk and you review different type of papers, different articles. Sitting on the desk is called desk review. Desk review has nothing to do with literature, nothing to do with methodology, because these days people have combined it. They call desk review is the same as literature. If you are sitting on a desk and you are doing all these things, it's called literature review. So for me, it's not really something, not really something very different. It's okay. Any other question? If no question, then I can finish the class. Okay, I believe there's no question. Have a good night, everyone. Please remember to finish the assignment before the deadline. And inshallah, next week, then we will discuss for the next lecture. Okay, bye bye. Assalamu alaikum. Yes, I'll send the assignment and the slide now.